Well, hello, everybody. Hello. Hope everybody is doing pretty good today. Hi. Make sure that this guy catches every little bit of me here. There you go. Alrighty. Nope, that's still not that much better. Let's try this here. That's probably a little better. At least now that guy can catch me here. Okay. So I hope everybody's doing pretty good today. There we go. Thank you again for joining us. So what we're going to do is ask everybody to please sit at the front of their chairs. Before we get started, for those of you who are new to the class, I just want to go over a couple terms here that you're going to hear me use quite often. There's two terms being hollow, which is what I'm referring to. Hollowing our spine, whereby contracting my glutes, I can posteriorly tilt my pelvis, and contracting the abdomen, I can pull that sternum down towards my pelvis up towards my sternum, and my back rounds, okay? An arch is when I anteriorly tilt my pelvis, and my shoulders roll back and down as my back is nice and straight. In fact, it's overly straight, okay? And the stomach is nice and relaxed. In this class, we're going to basically kind of find a nice midway between a hollow and an arched position and achieve what we refer to as a neutral spine. Okay, now, that's a little high, isn't it? Bring that down just a tad. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to start off in front of our chairs. Hands, palms of our hands on our laps. We're going to contract those glutes, contract the stomach muscles. Keeping your arms straight. You're going to push through the palms of your hands, pushing down on top of the knee. And if you're contracting the stomach hard enough, those stomach muscles, those abdominal muscles, hard enough, your chest won't lift up. Instead, what will happen is you push down through the palms of your hands harder and harder and harder. You'll feel those shoulder blades depress down. So the shoulders will roll back and down. What will happen is you'll have a nice little neutral spine here. Okay? So there's no arching. There's no over hollowing. So your back's not rounded right now because you're pushing with the palms of your hands. And you're just breathing. So remember, at any point in time, this class is mostly isometrics, but we are breathing. We are never holding our breath, okay? There's not a single movement that we'll do in here where I'm going to ask you to hold your breath, okay? You're always going to be breathing. You might notice as we go through some of these postures and some of these movements, certain points during the movement, it might be more difficult to breathe, but by no means are we going to just stop breathing. Sounds probably like a pretty good idea, right? So we're still contracting, we're still squeezing the stomach muscles, still squeezing the glutes, still pushing down with the palms of our hands. Now what we're going to do here is make sure our feet are shoulder width apart. Knees are directly on top of our heels. Now we're going to slowly slide back or tilt back, letting the weight shift from your feet mostly into your hips, and you're going to pause just before the weight completely leaves your feet. So your feet shouldn't be off the floor. They should still be on the floor here. There should be a little bit of weight in them, but mostly in our hips. And you're just going to breathe. You should feel the abdomen having to work pretty well. And I'm still in this position. I'm still pushing through my hands. Okay? Still pushing through the hands. And I'm breathing. And I'm breathing. And breathe. You got it. Breathe. That's it. That's it. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Okay. And 3, 2, 1. Pushing forward. Don't let go. Don't let go. Keep pushing down with the palms of your hands. Keep those feet right where they are. Okay. And breathe, breathe, breathe. You got it. You got it. All right, now we're going to come back again. Come back, breathing, breathing. Coming forward. You got it. Pushing down hard with the palms of those hands, but not letting the chest lift up. Still keeping those stomach muscles nice and tight. And breathing through. Remember, guys, we're not holding our breath. Coming back. Pause. Pushing down. Pushing down to the palm of your hands. You got it. And breathing. Pushing forward. Pause. You got it. Breathe. And breathe. Coming back. Pause. And breathe. Going forward. Pause. Come back. Doing good. Pause. Pushing forward. And relax. Woo. Shake it out a little bit here. Woo. Definitely feel that here. Now, let's break down a little bit of PVC. Grab that PVC. Put it just on top of the knee. Same concept here. We're going to contract those glutes, contract the stomach muscles. Now, we're not going to let the chest lean upwards. It's okay if the sternum starts to face more forward instead of down, or if the chest face forward. But now we're going to start to try to bend, but keeping your arms straight. We're going to pushing down. You'll feel the shoulders roll back and down. You got it. And breathe. And breathe. You got it. That's it. Breathe and breathe. You got it. No problems here. All right. Now we're going to bring this PVC, pull it back to mid-thigh just by bending your elbows. Yeah, there you go. All right, now comes a good one. Now, we're going to lean back. Pause. Just before the weight leaves your feet, your arms should be straight now, and I'm pushing with the PVC, putting pressure onto my thigh. Still keeping my abdominal muscles contract, and even my glutes here. Push forward. Pause for 5, 4, 3, 2. Don't let go. Pull the PVC back to mid-thigh. And we're just breathing here, okay? Still pushing, still putting pressure through the PVC on top of the thighs. Now we're going to start to lean back. The elbows are going to start to straighten out. I am still keeping my abdominal muscles contracted. Now we're going to push forward and relax. Good job. Woo-wee. If you'd like to, you can stay seated or you can stand up for this next one here. If you're going to stand up, you want to take a second to kind of walk around, shake it out just a little bit. I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you at all. Alrighty. Now, still with the PVC here, we're going to try to get our shoulders nice and loosened up, okay? We're going to work a little bit on some internal rotation today. Yeah. I know it's always about the external rotation, but today we're going to do just a little bit of internal rotation before we work on any external. Now, what I want us to do here is with the PVC, now if you're seated, what's going to be important for you is that you're not really hitting your knees when you're doing this exercise. So what I would ask for you to do is to basically kind of lean forward in your chair, keep your back straight, think about arching your back, and having the PVC be out here, floating just above the knee. For those of us standing, we can have the PVC just in front of the thigh. What we're going to do here is I'm just going to push using, let's call it my right arm, is going to push my left arm up just like this. Okay? What my left arm is doing here is it's kind of relaxing and it's just being allowed, and I'm just allowing my right arm to kind of push it up, okay? This is going to work a little bit on some internal rotation here, okay? I want you to stand up nice and tall. Now, if it gets difficult to hold it up here, I want you to periodically, you'll come up and then down. Staying within your range of motion, all you're doing is going to slight discomfort. You will feel a stretch throughout the upper arm and in the shoulder, or maybe one of those places, depending on what's tight or where your mobility is. Coming down. If you can hold it up there for 5 seconds at a time, that's great. Okay? All I'm doing again here is just letting it get pushed up. Notice that at the very top of the movement, my thumb is kind of pointing down. Okay? That's where that that's how you know that the arm is internally rotating, is because if I come up and there's no rotation, my thumb points forward. But if there's internal rotation, my thumb points down. The reverse of that being externally rotated with my thumb pointed up, or even more so with my thumb pointing behind me. But here, we're just going one more time and focus on internal rotation. Now let's switch to the other side. Now if you have a quote unquote bad shoulder, but the other one seems to be doing fine, you might find this to be a little bit easier on one side versus the other. And if you're doing the easy side first, then all of a sudden you're going to realize, oh, okay, this is a lot harder than it seems. It's okay. Just pushing it up. Kind of think about like a pendulum on a clock. There you go. And you might notice the mobility on one side is a little different than the other. As you can tell with me, so here's a little insider for you. This is actually my right arm on top. Is not as good as the mobility with my left. Now let's repeat one more time. Holding it for 5 seconds if you can. Come back down. Last time. Come back up. So just an insider today, the reason why I always love working on mobility so much and stability, understanding the difference between the two, is I was actually diagnosed with scapular winging on my right shoulder back when I was 23. And I was specifically diagnosed with excuse me, lateral winging. So basically my shoulder blade or my scapula wings away from my rib cage instead of staying nice and tight to it. What that does is that puts me at an increased risk for impingement and a lot of other overhead instability, a lot of which it does easily limit my mobility on this side here. Ever since I was diagnosed, I had a much more profound view and respect for mobility, stability, and the difference between those two and how they influence one another, and more importantly, how to take care of yourself. I will tell you this much, I have only gotten stronger as time has gone on, and I have not let it get in my way, but it's because every single week, multiple times a week, I'm having to do exercises like this to keep it in check and to make sure that as I progress forward, it progresses with me. Granted, I will say this, I know it'll be a lifelong burden of mine, but it's well within my power to keep in check. And so I hope this class also helps some of you with potentially some of the things that you're working with too. Okay, so we did our internal rotation. Now we're going to contract a little bit with the internal rotators, all right? So using the PVC, and for those of you who are seated, what you're going to do is simply and this goes for everybody, the place on your hand just at the base of your index finger on the palm, the top part of your palm, base of the first metaphalange or phalange or digit. I'm going to put pressure using that on the PVC on top of my thigh, or if you're seated down, at the very end of my thigh, just in front of the knee. And I'm basically going to lift the pinky side of my hand up as if I'm trying to internally rotate my hand so that the thumb faces down. But I'm going to put pressure there. So you see that fatty part, that cushion part that's in between the thumb and the middle and the index finger? Basically, I'm going to be pushing through that as the outer part of my hand lifts away and up from the PVC. And so if you're seated down, you're going to do that. You're going to do that with the PVC just above the knee. If you're standing like me, you're going to have it just in front of the thigh at the top. Now, relax everything real quick. Squeeze your glutes. Squeeze the abdomen. Now, contract, keeping those arms straight, and try to push that PVC into your thigh using that part of your hand. Nothing is really going to move other than you're going to feel your elbows kind of rotate maybe a little bit outwards. What you should feel is you should feel those muscles on the inside of the arm, inside of the upper arm, and on the deep part of our shoulder. And we're breathing, of course. You got it. Keeping his hands there. So you see how the outer portion of my pinky is not touching. It's just mostly that part here. Now, obviously, if you're seated down, you're pushing down, but we're all getting the same effect here. We're working that subscapularis muscle, or our subscapularis, or our subscap, or one of the rotator cuff muscles we have that we don't give that much attention to when it comes to isolating. Typically, we always give our attention to our infraspinatus or our supraspinatus when it comes to doing prehab related exercises. But all of these muscles help to keep and stabilize the upper part of that arm bone inside of the shoulder socket there. So they're all important. And relax. Whew. Now I will say this is rough. This is not an easy exercise. It is not necessarily a comfortable exercise. I am sitting here in a relatively mild form of discomfort as well. It's a difficult exercise to do. There's really no significant range of motion that you go through when you go in there, but you do feel the contraction. What's important here is that you can kind of modulate how intense it is by simply how hard you're trying, okay? But try as we go through this here. I understand it's difficult. I would rather you kind of push in real hard and maybe ease up a little bit than to push so hard for so long you have to stop, take a second, and then start again. I would rather you keep that muscle under tension a little bit longer, okay? Because we want to increase the amount of time that the muscle is activated. Let's do that again. Squeeze those glutes. Squeeze the abdomen. Now push the PVC into your thigh using that part of the palm that's just below the index finger and in between the thumb. You should really feel those shoulder muscles light up again. Still keep those glutes contracted. Keep the abdomen contracted as well. Yeah. Try not to let up. You're doing very good. You're breathing. You got it. And breathing. Three, two, one, and relax. Good job. Shake those arms out just a little bit here. Woo! It's a little rough, isn't it? I know. It is a little rough. Oh, man. All right. Now, let's give our arms just a little bit of a break. Let's work a little bit on some good moving technique and posture mobility within a good position. So for those of you who are seated, bear with me for one moment. I'm going to show you how you're going to get in position here, but for those of you who are going to stay seated, we're going to do this facing towards the left. So if you're seated, turn in your chair towards the left and put your back leg back like this and your forward leg, which would be the same side to the left leg, and just make sure that heel of the front foot is just below the knee, and the knee is a little bit behind, if not directly on top, but not forward in relation to that heel. For those of us standing, you can use a chair next to you if you want to for balance, or a rail. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to bring that left foot out, forward. So whenever you take that big step, think heel to toe. And once you go to your toe, heel to toe, the back heel, the back leg, the heel of the back leg comes up. Pretty good? So heel to toe, up just like that. Okay? So practice that step here. Heel to toe. Good. Now, ideally you're taking a good step where when you go heel to toe, I don't know how well we can see right here. Let me give myself a little bit more room. Heel to toe. I don't know how well you can see, but I actually have some space in between my feet, width-wise. Okay? Now, here's an important part here. If you're in a room full of mirrors, this is great. Make sure the heel of your back leg is pointed out and the big toe is pointed in towards the midline of your body. Okay? So let me show you from a different angle here. So if you lined up and you were like this, with your heel turned in and the big toe is facing out, turn the big toe in and the heel out. Notice what it will do is it'll actually force your back knee to bend a little bit more. We want that anyways. Also notice that the knee of the front leg is just slightly behind the heel of that front leg. Okay? Now remember, don't tightrope it. You want to be riding a line, put some space a little bit in there, Imagine yourself inside of a rectangle and you're filling up the opposite ends of the corners. Okay. Now, what's important here is when I'm lined up, and for those of you who are in your chair, this should, as long as you're able to turn all the way, you should be able to get the same, you should be able to feel the same thing that we're doing when we're standing here, okay? Is your hips should be faced in the same direction as our shoulders are, the same direction that we're facing, okay? What's important about this one detail here, if I told someone to step forward and their back heel didn't come up, or if it did, but it didn't turn out, what happens is that back heel is turned in and it kind of comes very close to the floor. The big toe turns out, and watch this here. I'll start in a good position where you can see. I know we're all black today, probably not a good idea. I'm going to come back to an outside position. If you can't tell, my hips are now pointing not straight ahead. They're now pointing out to the side. They're now pointing out towards the right. But my shoulders are facing this way. This is not a good position to be in. It's actually a very unstable position to be in. It's not even a good position to be able to receive an external load, to hold something, or to move something, or to even, or let alone to catch something. It's not a good place to be. And there's also a lot of tension on the back ankle, okay? But all that changes if I pick that back heel up, turn the big toe in, turn the heel out. Now all of a sudden, my knee is bent, and now my hips are facing the same direction as my shoulders are, okay? So that's always why we're always kind of devils in the details here. You can emphasize that when you're seated here, like this, just turn that heel out, and you'll notice the hip opens up. We don't want it to be like that. We want it to be in a more stable position here, okay? Because if we ask you to do a split squat or a lunge, which implies you stepping forward heel to toe and then taking that knee down, my hip is actually in a good position where I can go through that range of motion. I can actually come down, and it's not going to put a big strain on me. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to split out, lunge out as far as I am. You can take a smaller step, and you can come down here. But the concept's the same. You'll have a greater range of motion being able to keep yourself squared up, okay? Plus, that's really going to be really important when I add another component for our PVC with our shoulder lead. So let's switch to the other side. Everybody who's sitting down that was facing the left, go ahead and turn around, face to the right. And now we're going to lunge out with our left foot, heel to toe, back, heel comes up. Now I'm going to make sure that my back heel, if it isn't already, turned out. I'm going to turn it out, big toes turned in. See that back knee is nice and bent now. Now let's go ahead and take a little squat here. Let the weight kind of fall towards the heel of the front leg. Push through the heel of the front leg. Come down one more time. Push up. Now recover, coming forward. There we go. Not bad. Let's do the other one. Back to, all right, everyone is seated. Go from one side to the next, just as soon as you get situated. Now, if you're in the chair and I'm telling you to do a split squat or a lunge, what I want you to do here is just to kind of come forward, lean forward just a little, and push up a little if you can, okay? Just push up a little, putting the weight in the heel of the front and the heel of that front leg, okay? And just pushing through, come back down. You don't even have to lift your hips all the way off. The seat, you can just try to activate those muscles. Leading with your left leg, heel to toe, heel, back leg is up, coming down into the heel of that front foot, pushing through that heel, going down again, push, and recover. Good job. All right. Now, everybody go ahead and grab the PVC again. For those of you who are seated, go ahead and do the, use your yoga strap. Flip it over your back, like it's a backpack strap. And then with the other hand, so we're gonna do our right hand is on top, reach back under with the left, make sure there's no slack, and you can keep your arm up just like this, or you can have it down here, okay? One of the two. Those of you who are standing, PVC comes up behind your lower back, left hand's on the bottom. So like this, left hand's on the bottom, behind that lower back. Reach, grab, just behind the neck. Okay? Now, feet are shoulder width apart. Squeeze those glutes. Squeeze the abdomen. Pull those elbows back. Woo! If you weren't lighting up before, you are now. Relax the elbows forward. Keep contracting the abdomen. Contracting those glutes. Pull those elbows back. Breathing. There you go. Keeping those stomach muscles nice and contracted, trying to limit any arching in your back. And relax. Woo! All right, let's switch to the other side, okay? Right arm is behind that lower back. Left hand comes up to the top, behind the neck. You're going to squeeze those glutes. Okay. Squeezing the abdomen, trying to pull the sternum down. You're probably already feeling it. It's pretty difficult to bring the sternum down from the get-go. Now we're going to pull those elbows back. And we're breathing. You're doing very good. Doing very good. And relax. Keep squeezing those glutes. Keep squeezing the stomach. And now we're going to pull elbows back. You'll feel a good stretch all throughout the shoulder when you're doing this here. And relax. Woo! That one was rough. I'm really feeling this one today, guys. All right. Now, shake it out just a little bit, right? Just a little bit of shaking it out. Okay, now, real easy. Same thing. Left arm is behind. Those of you who are sitting in your chair, everybody turn. Make sure I'm doing this the right way. Everybody's going to turn. Yes, I have it right. Everyone's going to turn to their left. Left hand is underneath. Right hand grabs the top. Squeeze those glutes. Squeeze. Squeeze those abdominal muscles. We're going to take that step forward. So for those of you who are seated, get in that lunge position. So the left foot should be forward, the right foot should be back. Just like this. Okay? Maybe you should be using your strap if you're in your chair. Leading with the left, guys. Heel to toe, back heels up. Woo! Okay, give yourself a moment. Readjust. Make sure you're still squeezing those abdominal muscles here. Pulling those elbows back. Yeah. Feel that? Yes, sir. All right, now we're going to take that dip down, push to the heel of the front foot. One more time, pause. Pull those back, push up, and recover. Switch to the other side, everybody. Those of you seated, switch over towards to face the right. Right hand's on the bottom. Left arm comes up. Squeeze those glutes. Squeeze the abdomen. Take that step, heel to toe, back heels up. Pull those elbows back a little bit. And we're going to come down the dip, push to the heel of the front leg. Pause. Come down again, pause. Hold, push to the front leg, recover, and bring it down. Woo! All right. Okay. I'm going to give everybody just a moment here. For those of you who are seated and are going to stay seated, if you could grab or have someone assist you into bringing a chair in front of you so you can use the back part of the upper part of the back of the chair. And for those of you who are standing, just grab your chair, stand behind it. For those of you sitting, you could move your chair to either a rail. Ideally, that's something that's shoulder height when you're seated. So if you have a counter or a table, you can move your chair in front of that. Give everybody a moment here to make sure they have time to get in position. All right, so just to kind of stretch those shoulders out just a little bit here. We have a lot going on. We're bringing our feet shoulder width apart, and I'm going to bring my feet back wide, okay? Bring my hips back. I'm going to use the top part of the bottom part of my palms are going to be on top of the chair. I'm going to flex my wrist down a little bit, okay? Just a little bit here. What I'm going to do is at this point, I'm just going to relax my back. I'm not going to think about what my back is doing right now. I should feel a good stretch in my hamstrings. My head is still above the level of my heart. Now I'm just going to try to squeeze my elbows in. So I'm squeezing those elbows in. And what should happen is you should feel those shoulders depress. And you should honestly feel when you bring those elbows in, you'll kind of feel your back involuntarily arch a little bit. So relax the elbows. Now squeeze the elbows in. You'll feel that back. Your back wants to arch. The harder you squeeze those elbows in, the more that back wants to arch. We're just observing here, okay? The only thing you're doing on purpose here is just trying to squeeze those elbows in, but you are feeling those shoulder blades roll back and down. Relax just a second here. Stand back up. Squeeze your glutes, squeeze the abdomen. Just to get an idea of what it's like to remember that we're still activating all of this here. Now relax, hands back in position. Now squeeze those stomach muscles a little bit and watch your back round just a little bit, not a lot. It should only just be a little bit here. Should feel that lower back kind of relax a little bit. Now you're squeezing those abdominal muscles, and now we're going to push on the top part of that seat, on the back part of our seat, through the palms of our hands, and we're going to squeeze those elbows inward. So turning those elbows in to face down, you'll feel those shoulder blades again kind of sink down and depress. So at this time, because we're hollowing a little bit, we shouldn't feel our lower back excessively arch at all. It's okay if there's a little bit of an arch, but it shouldn't be excessively arching here. Really using those stomach muscles. Breathing, breathing. And relax. Woo, kind of recover a little bit here. Woo, all right. You walk away from behind your chair. Now we're going to try to open up our shoulders a little bit here. Just real quick. All right. So we did all that internal rotation work earlier. Now we're going to externally rotate. We're going to take the PVC, everybody, whether you're seated or standing. And now we're going to try to externally rotate our elbows, just like we were doing with this chair just a second ago, okay? Just like we were doing with the chair. Okay? I'm trying to bend that PVC as if I was trying to turn my thumbs upwards almost. It's not actually going to bend, it's not going to break, but your elbows will turn in. And you'll feel those shoulder blades sink back and down. Now, even when you do this, you might notice that your back might arch a little bit, but that's okay. So we're going to relax first. We're going to squeeze our glutes. We're going to squeeze the abdomen. Raise that guy up. Shoulder height. Now we're going to try to bend the PVC, but it's keeping those glutes squeezed. Keeping the abdomen squeezed. Breathing. And you'll feel instead that spine is nice and neutral here. The shoulders are just rolling back and down, but our back is not arching. You'll feel all 360 degrees of your core working here. You're doing good. Breathe, breathe, breathe. All right, so let's see if we can't maintain the contraction with our glutes and the stomach muscles as we relax our shoulders just a little bit, and then go right back in. Trying to bend that PVC and relax. Woo. Go ahead and put your PVC down. Bring our hands just on top of our thighs. Squeeze those glutes again, same thing, okay? Squeeze those glutes. Squeezing the abdomen. Keeping everything nice and tight, okay? Doing very good. And just breathing, guys. We're just breathing. Just breathing here. Pushing the palms of your hands. You'll feel those shoulder blades sink back and down. Sitting up nice and tall. Standing up nice and tall. Keeping everything nice and contracted. And breathing. Never letting our breath get away from us. Slowly relax the arms. Slowly relax the glutes and the stomach muscles, standing up nice and tall. Tall through your spine. Taking a deep breath. Exhale slowly. Relax. Good job, guys. Well done today. Thank you again for tuning in. I appreciate you guys always being here and support us. And I will see you next week. Have a good day.